This student scored an 11 in speaking, this student got an 11 in listening, this student got an 11 in reading, and this student got a 12 in writing. These are phenomenal scores, and these people can do it, but you cannot. Why? There are some things that really high-level students follow, but you don't have to be high level to reach that score. All you got to do is copy the things, the success strategies these guys are using. And today we'll cover all modules and talk about the most important strategies and the best strategies these guys are using to time and time again get 11s, 10s, and 12s. Let's see what they're doing. Let's talk about reading first, a module that has been haunting people a lot lately. The first thing you want to do is focus on questions first. This is a high success strategy. What you want to do here is for all passages, always look at the questions first, get the idea from there, then go to the passage, find the specific place where the answer may be, then go back to the questions and answer. This is a three-step strategy. You go to the question, go to the passage, go to the question, instead of you reading the whole passage and then going to the question. Because if you do that, you will waste a lot of time because you would have to reread the passage twice or thrice whenever you see a question, and you are going to be getting a lot of information which your mind cannot handle. It's much better to look at specific questions and specific paragraphs at a time, answer that question first, then jump to the next one, do the same thing. Then the other success rule that you want to follow happens in two parts, parts 1 and 4, the 80-20 rule. This is where in parts 1 and 4 you have two sections, right? The first 6 or 7 questions and the next 5 to 6 questions. When you do the first 6 to 7 questions, that's where you're going to be reading the actual passage. That's where you are reading it for the first time. And that's where your understanding of that passage needs to be really good. That means you should spend 80% of your total time in that first section. In the second section, which is mostly the response section or a comment section, you have to guess answers based on what was originally said. So you would not be able to do a good job here if you don't know what was originally said. That's why you got to give 80% of the time to read what was originally said and 20% only because you have to sacrifice some time towards the end. But at the end, you're not really going back in the previous passage. You're understanding the answers from your knowledge. Give that second section only 20% of your time. The third really high success strategy is predicting the answer. This means when you go to, for example, question number 2, you read it, go to the passage. Now you come back to question number 2. Before you open the drop-down menu, you should have the answer in your head already based on what you read. Look, if this were a fill-in-the-blank question, you would have to answer yourself, right? Assume it's that and get the answer first, because as soon as you open that drop-down menu with the 4 options, you get confused. Now you have all these options, and now you forgot what you originally read. So remember what you originally read, get the answer in your head, this is probably the answer, and now when you open the drop-down menu, you would know what is the most relatable thing to what you actually predicted, instead of being confused with all the options. All right, let's talk about our next module, which is speaking. Again, a very hard module. Let's start with a very important strategy, which has multiple benefits. That is breathing. Breathe first at the start of your answer, like I did at the start of this video. Deep breath, and then you're confident, you're relaxed, smooth start, and that smooth start helps you build confidence for the rest of the answer. Breathe between your sentences, relaxes you. And again, breathing between sentences helps you think about the next thing you're going to say. It really is the place where you build points, not the preparation time. The preparation time is usually 30 seconds to a minute. And even if you think about all the points, most students, when they start speaking, forget what they thought about in the preparation time. So if you're breathing in between sentences, that's the time when you're thinking about the next thing to say. So breathe effectively. It also makes for a good natural tone because we all breathe, don't we? But we don't do that in the exam, so make sure to keep breathing. The next thing is the moreovers, the furthermores, the likewises, howevers, therefores. What I'm talking about here is connectors. Use good connectors and conjunctions. This goes very hand in hand with breathing. Just when you say connectors, you first of all get the range of vocab, but also you get the thinking time about the next thing you have to say, and you build a good flow. So multiple benefits. And if you want to be one of those people who score an 11 or 12, get using connectors. Now, natural tone is important. Make sure you're not robotic. Make sure you're not having very formal or informal jargon when it's not needed. Make sure to answer it according to the question. Whatever you say should be relevant to the question, and just assume you're talking to real people. That's the easiest thing you can do. When you assume that and you imagine that, tone becomes natural and tone has marks. So let's not screw that up. Let's talk about writing. The first thing we're going to look at is the structure. We have multiple videos on writing structures. Task 1, basically, you need 5 paragraphs. If it is formal, your first paragraph is the purpose. Next are 3 bodies answering the 3 bullet points in sequence. Final paragraph is greeting. If it is informal, the first paragraph and the last intro and conclusion are greetings. The 3 paragraphs in the middle are the 3 paragraphs that will answer the 3 bullet points in sequence. Once again, we have lots of videos on this, so check that out in our channel. Task 2, 4 paragraphs. First is intro, and that's where you give your opinion. The last paragraph is conclusion, where you rephrase your opinion. And what happens in the 2 paragraphs in the middle is you explain your points. Body 1, you explain the benefits of your points. And body 2, you explain the negatives of the side you have not chosen. Having the right structure is crucial. You have lots of marks for structure, and it even relates to marks with flow and coherence. So get the right structure. If you don't know it, we have written versions of it. Just type on YouTube, HZad Education writing, and there's a playlist of writing in the description too. You will learn a ton from there. So get the right structure. Then use advanced words wherever you can. And this is more critical here compared to speaking. Because in speaking, you have a little room. You know, you're speaking, it's impromptu. You can't really think about words. But, I mean, you should. But in writing, at least, you have the luxury of proofreading, of pressing backspace. The examiners know this, and they expect you to use more advanced wordings because this is writing. The words are in front of you. You can easily replace them and proofread them. Wherever you can find better word replacements, use them. So if you say that the event was exciting, try to say it was rejuvenating, or I was ecstatic during that event. The more advanced vocab you use, the better. Let's talk about task response. Task response is, I wouldn't say something that very advanced students do because it's natural to them, but it is something that students who are advanced sometimes miss on, which is why if they're scoring a 10, 11 before, and in the next exam they score a 7, they're like, what happened? What happened was you did not answer the question by explaining the why and how. So whatever points you mention in writing, always make sure to go in the process, why and how. Define the examples. If you say the gym is not needed in our office because our colleagues are okay without having a gym, it's not a good explanation. Instead, mention how the gym will be a distraction. It might create a place where people meet informally. It might lead to people looking forward to gym workouts more compared to actually paying attention to their work. Define this whole process. Give your examples. Don't just give a point and not explain it. On the screenshots I was showing you earlier, you saw a lot of students scoring really high on listening. Why? Here's one very, very important thing. You should avoid passive listening. When you talk to friends, guys, in real life, do you take notes? No. Do you forget a lot of the things they say? No, maybe some of the things, but mostly you remember, right? Why? Because you are engaged. But in CELPIP, you start to listen passively. You're not interested in the conversation. You're interested in, this is an exam, I gotta get this mark, I gotta listen to this, I gotta take this note. All those things are important, but if you're not interested or engaged in the conversation, that is your key to failing and missing important information. What you want to assume, and this is what really successful students do, is assume you are a third person in that conversation and they will speak to you next. When you think like that, you listen more actively, and active listening helps you understand a lot of stuff accurately. Of course, you want to take notes, as many notes as you possibly can, but again, do a good mixture of this, and that's the gray area here. If you keep taking notes and not listening actively, you have a problem. If you just listen actively without notes, it's unfortunately too much information. You can't remember all of it. You want to combine active listening with active note-taking and do this multitasking skill at home as many times as you can to make this better. Finally, don't just rely on those things. similar to active listening, you want to rely on memory as well. Notes plus memory plus active listening. This trifecta really helps you nail down every answer correctly in listening. Remember some of the things. Of course, you cannot remember dates or maybe names, but you can remember the moods, the argument, the main topic. Why were people fighting? Or why were they agreeing? Or what was the woman desperate about? Or what was the guy being helpful with, etc. Those main parts of the conversation should be here based on your memory. So guys, make sure to follow these success strategies in all 4 modules of your exam and score highly. And if you like this content, please drop a like, share this video, and please subscribe as well. I really appreciate it.